This video is all about, do you keep a diary? Famous people in our country who've kept diaries include Samuel Pepys. He was the administrator of the Royal Navy and he kept a diary between 1660 and 1669. He kept a diary about his personal life and what was going on in his country. He recorded the Great Plague, the Fire of London and a war. And in recent times, the famous Labour politician, very much loved raconteur politician Tony Benn kept a political diary. And my favourite living pop star, Neil Sedaka, in 1958, his first hit in Great Britain was The Diary. Am I the boy that you care for? The boy who's in your diary. Now, if I knew how to add music to my videos, because I'm a digital donkey, I wouldn't have subjected you to my naff effort at singing. When I was 14 years old and 5 months, for Christmas 1969, a friend of the family called Joan Hunt gave me this diary. It's got 3 days on a page and educational notes at the bottom of the page. And for example, I can see that I've written on the 7th of April 1969 that from 10:30 to 1:55 I was out caddying, pulling a golfer's trolley. It was sunny. Then I went up Fort Ice Cream Parlour in the afternoon, had a Coca-Cola, and I was doing some putting, but it doesn't say where. I renewed Joan's diary. For 3 years I had the same diary, and I didn't know that Joan was going to change my life by encouraging me to keep a diary for life. And I did tell her years later that I was still keeping a diary as a result of her Christmas present. And then in 1972 I graduated to a page-a-day diary. And at this time I had a short spell in the Liverpool Police Cadets and the Bristol Police Cadets, and we had to keep a diary as part of the duties of the job. Then in 1975 I graduated. I was buying a massive diary and I was keeping a page a day. And this diary, this size, has been my staple ever since. So I think that being tenacious as a person, can't let go, and I'm very consistent once I engage upon a project, that I've been keeping a diary every day of my life since January the 1st, 1969. And I've realised that life is so precious that when we think back and reflect upon certain events, I want to avoid this problem of having a composite memory. I want to be able to distinguish the years and the months when something happened. Life's too precious just to have this composite memory. And people say to me or to each other, oh, I keep a diary just for a holiday when I've got more interesting things to write. Fair enough, because there is a lot of trivia in my diaries. I write about the weather, what time I get up, whether I've had a good night's sleep. I do all sorts of entries such as washing machine, I do the gardening, and a bit of romance has been put in there, but it's been petering out in recent years. Now, I always thought that when I was a teenager that it was useful to have a diary, because I said to Nigel Streeter once, oh, I've got evidence, it's in my diary. He said, well, it's not evidence, but I know what I was trying to get at, that it would be some sort of evidence because I recorded life. So I recorded life events, and I want to be able to keep people saying to me, oh, how are you so good at recording dates? Well, it's because I've kept a diary. And when people say, oh, time marches on, doesn't time pass quickly? Well, I like to say that I like to put the anchor on the passage of time at the end of every day by reflecting upon what the day has been like for me, and writing it down so I can slow down the passage of time. And when I was about 17, 18 years old, I had lots of thoughts which went beyond the diary, and I kept memoirs. And there's some very, very interesting pages here. People would say, but do you read your diaries? Well, if I have to look up some very special event, I can find it. And for example, on December the 9th in 1975, I remember sleeping at the end of a pier in Monte Carlo in France. So I like to look up any day of my life and remember what I was doing. Sometimes I can remember the day. It's not just diaries. I've been keeping lots of records ever since. I think I've inherited some of this off my father. And what I've done as a supply teacher for the last 23 years, I've written down every school I've been to and how many miles it is from home and how many days per year I've worked, because it helped out calculating pension, and also when I've managed to get some tax relief on petrol, I've managed to add up the miles every year for the tax inspector. Some people might think it's a bit zany having a massive pile of diaries. Maybe someone in 100 years' time might write my life story. I should carry on writing the diary. I think my handwriting's got a little bit untidy over the years because I've seemed to be rushed. I want to get the entry written, and because I'm just maybe tired of writing in a way. It's not such a novelty anymore. And of course, when I buy the diary every January the 1st, page 1 is always very neatly written. I've got all these expensive pens, and if I wrote slowly I could get my money's worth out of the pens. When I go overseas, if I'm going to be travelling in a dangerous country, or I want to relieve the weight that I'm carrying, I carry an exercise book with that journey. And I've got a pile of exercise books this high with all my travels in. So at this stage, I'll say thanks for watching the video, and hopefully you'll keep a diary, you'll post your comments, and maybe after you watch this video, it might be a bit of a life changer for you, that you'll start keeping a diary, not just for an event, but for life. And I think in 20 or 30 years' time, you'll look back on your collection and be pleased that you were a diarist.